Let's get a quick take on President Trump declaring a national emergency in order to bypass Congress to fund a wall at the Mexican border. One of the possible sources of money may come from Department of Defense funds designated for military construction projects. Patty Cahoon from Westward, not only do we have this major update nationally from President Trump, but I think we might even have some more localized updates from our own veteran of this table, Tom Tancredo, who's been doing his own work at the border. What updates do you have to share?
Well, we don't know what's happened between when Trump made this announcement, when we taped, and when it airs. By now, if you follow Tom Tancredo's prediction, this national emergency order will have gone to court, which is where it will ultimately probably be decided. Tom Tancredo, formerly of this table, formerly a congressional representative and gubernatorial candidate, was down in Arizona this week with the original MAGA gangsters, Make America Great gangsters, including Steve Bannon, because they are all part of this group that wants to build the wall independently and privately. And I have to say, probably that's a lot better idea than shutting down defense spending so that Trump can build a wall he's had 2 years to come up with a plan for.
Who would have thought in 2019 that you can say you're a MAGA OG as responding to, it says you're referring to Steve Bannon and not somebody in some crazy gang. Okay, well said. David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. This almost seems like a lot of window dressing to me, because if President Trump comes out and says this to his base, that I'm taking the money as national emergency, his base is excited and he doesn't get called a coward. It gets locked into courts for however many years, so nothing ever actually happens. You don't actually take money from any sort of thing, and we move on to the next distraction of the moment. But I've been known to be a little cynical around this table. What do you think?
Your cynicism is appropriate in this situation, and in this shutdown and budget negotiation, Trump has been a chump and not the great deal maker he claims to be. The bill he signed significantly reduces federal immigration enforcement, for example, by a major cut in the number of beds available to detain criminal illegal aliens pending final deportation. So he's going backwards on that. For the wall, Congress, with the 1976 National Emergencies Act and then other related laws, has given presidents some authority to move money in particular ways from one bucket to another, for example, within defense construction appropriation. I think President Obama used that power a dozen times to move appropriated funds during what the president called one of the 18 national emergencies he declared. Our particular danger here in our society is not so much this particular reprogramming, which can be, courts will decide on the legality of that, and I don't know. But you can see the other side getting very excited while they pretend to be so outraged about this wall. Elizabeth Warren coming out and saying, well, the wall, illegal immigration's not a national emergency, but guns are, climate is. So you can imagine when she becomes president, how she will try to push emergency powers even further, perhaps even to the point of gun confiscation. And when that was tried in April 1775 at Lexington and Concord, it caused a lot of trouble.
I was dying for an 18th century reference, David. We've missed you so much this table. It's good to have you back. Ed Sealiver from the Denver Business Journal. This is something that may be locked up in the courts. It's a national issue. But in Colorado, you have a recent poll say that Republicans really support President Trump on this issue. But you also have a lot of Colorado Republicans who are part of military tradition in Colorado, whether it be in Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, other places. Does that maybe temper the support if it becomes military funding that actually starts to pay for this, if it ever comes to pass?
Absolutely, and I think you might actually see the first crack in the Republican backing of Donald Trump, especially. I mean, I'd love to see the reaction right now in Doug Lamborn's office. Doug Lamborn represents the 5th Congressional District, Fort Carson, and 3 or 4 other military bases in his district. I would imagine you're in a no-win situation at this point. Frankly, maybe this is what the Republicans need. You referenced that poll that said Republicans are so far behind Trump right now. Well, clearly the results of the 2018 election show that independents are not. And Republicans need to have some sort of severability from Trump, backing him on the issues which Republicans and independents independents and pragmatic moderates will back him on, but not going in full force behind him. If this is the issue that could actually create that severability, it might be a gift in disguise for the Colorado Republican Party.
Anna Staver, politics reporter from the Denver Post, making your debut on the program. Thanks for joining us. So speaking of politics and the Colorado Republicans, do you think this has an impact on the upcoming 2020 U.S. Senate race?
I think it could. Well, I think anything that develops nationally is going to impact the 2020 race because Senator Gardner's got a really difficult needle to thread here. He has said in the past that he is opposed to this kind of emergency declaration, but he's been quiet since the official announcement's been made. And I think it's one thing to oppose something in theory, but when it actually becomes in practice, it becomes something entirely different. I mean, Mitch McConnell is rumored to have lobbied Trump not to do it, but now he's behind him that he is doing it. So Gardner is kind of a damned if you do and damned if you don't position, because if he opposes the president, he risks a primary. If he gets behind the president, he risks losing the election potentially.
It's I like the analogy, a tricky needle to thread.
Yes.